Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. We have breaking news coming out of the Middle East that has captured the attention of governments around the world. Iran has just tested a deadly intercontinental ballistic missile, ICBM, capable of reaching targets in Israel and the United States. This test represents a dangerous escalation in the ongoing tensions between Iran and its adversaries, and is seen as a direct challenge to both Israel and the U.S. military. Experts are already sounding alarms about the potential implications of this missile test for global security. Iran has been developing its missile technology for years, but this latest test marks a significant advancement in its capabilities. The missile test was reportedly carried out in a remote desert area, with Iranian officials claiming that it was a successful launch, demonstrating the nation's ability to strike targets at great distances. This development comes on the heels of increasing hostilities between Iran and Israel over the past few months. With both nations accusing each other of provoking military actions, the ICBM test signals a further intensification of the ongoing tensions between Iran and Israel and raises concerns that the conflict could spiral out of control in a region already fraught with instability. The United States has been monitoring the situation closely, with the Pentagon issuing statements condemning the test as a provocative move by the Iranian government. The missile is said to have a range that could reach major cities in both Israel and the U.S., making it a serious threat to both nations. Security experts warn that this type of missile could be equipped with a nuclear warhead, and if it were to reach its target, could cause catastrophic damage to both civilian and military infrastructure in the affected areas. The successful test of this ICBM is seen as a significant milestone for Iran, as it seeks to expand its military capabilities and project power beyond the Middle East. The U.S. and its allies have long been concerned about Iran's nuclear ambitions, with the threat of a nuclear-armed Iran being a major focus of international diplomacy. Over the past several years, Iran has repeatedly insisted that its nuclear program is for peaceful purposes, but many in the international community view it as a cover for developing nuclear weapons. These latest developments are likely to reignite concerns about Iran's intentions and the potential for a nuclear arms race in the region. Many nations have called for a stronger response to Iran's actions, urging the U.S. and its allies to take a more aggressive stance in countering the threat posed by the Iranian government. Israel has been particularly vocal in its condemnation of the missile test, with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stating that Israel will not allow Iran to acquire nuclear weapons and that it will take whatever steps are necessary to ensure its security. The Israeli military has been on high alert since the missile test and has been conducting drills in preparation for potential threats from Iran. These tensions are not just limited to Israel and the U.S., however, as the test has drawn condemnation from other nations in the Middle East and around the world. Several countries in the region have expressed concern about Iran's growing missile capabilities and its potential to destabilize the entire region. With the Iranian government increasingly flexing its military muscles, the prospect of further escalation is very real. Iran has also been stepping up its military activities in Syria and Iraq, with reports of Iranian-backed militias gaining strength in these countries. Many analysts fear that these developments could lead to an even wider regional conflict, with Iran at the center of it all. The missile test has also highlighted the weaknesses of the international non-proliferation regime, with many questioning whether existing treaties and diplomatic efforts are enough to prevent Iran from advancing its missile and nuclear capabilities. While the international community has imposed sanctions on Iran over the years in an attempt to curtail its nuclear ambitions, the country has managed to continue its missile development, undeterred. The failure of diplomacy to halt Iran's missile progress raises important questions about the effectiveness of current international strategies to deal with nuclear proliferation in volatile regions. The launch of this ICBM comes as the U.S. and its allies are already embroiled in other conflicts around the world, with growing concerns over tensions with China and Russia, as well as the ongoing war in Ukraine. The U.S. military is stretched thin and has been forced to reevaluate its priorities in the face of mounting threats from multiple fronts. The situation is further complicated by the fact that Iran has increasingly aligned itself with other anti-U.S. forces in the region, including militant groups and state sponsors of terrorism. This growing network of influence poses a significant challenge to U.S. foreign policy and military strategy in the region. The missile test comes at a time when Iran has faced increasing domestic unrest, with protests breaking out across the country over economic difficulties and political repression. The Iranian government has responded to these protests with force, and many believe that the regime is using the missile tests and its military provocations as a way to rally nationalistic support and deflect attention away from domestic issues. Some experts believe that Iran is also seeking to send a message to its rivals in the region and around the world that it will not back down in the face of international pressure and sanctions, while the U.S. and Israel have condemned the missile test and have vowed to increase sanctions against Iran. There are few good options available for addressing the situation without escalating tensions even further. A military response would risk triggering a wider conflict in the region, and the international community has shown little appetite for a military intervention in Iran. Similar to the 2003 Iraq invasion, diplomatic options remain limited, with both the U.S. and Iran having little trust in each other's intentions. The U.S. is unlikely to re-enter the 2015 nuclear deal with Iran, given the collapse of that agreement under the Trump administration and the continued violations by Iran of its obligations under the agreement. The failure of the U.S. and Iran to come to a negotiated settlement over the nuclear issue has left the situation in a dangerous stalemate. With both sides digging in their positions, Iran continues to develop its missile and nuclear capabilities, while the U.S. and its allies work to isolate Iran diplomatically and economically. The missile test has raised important questions about the future of regional security in the Middle East and the broader implications for global stability. If Iran's missile and nuclear programs continue to advance unchecked, the international community must decide how to respond to this growing threat. The potential for conflict in the region remains high, and the test has underscored the urgency of finding a resolution to the standoff between Iran and its adversaries. The future of the Iran-Israel conflict and the broader Middle East hangs in the balance, with the threat of nuclear weapons and missile attacks hanging over the region. The coming weeks and months are likely to be critical in determining the direction of the conflict and the future stability of the region as the situation continues to unfold. The U.S. and its allies will need to navigate a complex web of diplomatic, military, and strategic considerations to ensure that the threat posed by Iran does not spiral into a larger war, one that could have far-reaching consequences for the entire world. As the missile test has shown, the stakes in the Iran-Israel conflict have never been higher, and the actions taken in the coming days and weeks could shape the future of the Middle East, and beyond. The international community must remain vigilant and prepared to respond to the evolving situation in order to prevent a full-scale regional war and the potential for catastrophic consequences. The world is watching closely as Iran's missile and nuclear programs continue to pose a growing challenge to global security and stability. The coming months will be crucial in determining whether diplomacy or military force will prevail in preventing the escalation of tensions in the Middle East. The test of Iran's deadly ICBM is just the latest chapter in a dangerous and unpredictable conflict that shows no signs of de-escalating anytime soon.